CMT. I was walking up road with my dog, but that's the Yorkshire bit. And I had a wonderful Irish receiver called Dougal. And I felt a numb patch under my right foot. And after several visits to a mystified doctor, he sent me to this consultant who thought he was CMT, and he sent me on to St. Luke's Hospital in Huddersfield. The most dreadful experience of my life. Because they fastened these electrodes, it's probably got some fancy title, but they fastened these electrodes to my leg, switched it on, and I was laid there, and this idiot was shouting out, "There's nothing there." And I could have told him that 10 minutes earlier. And they repeated the same thing with the other leg, and this bloke again was ranting about "there's nothing there." And I thought this was absolutely dreadful. So I went back to my consultant, who then said he was going to give me a very, very painful injection into my right heel, and it cost me £80, and about 30 seconds later, and I felt absolutely nothing at all. So we know that CMT is life-threatening, and it's not life-threatening, but it's life-changing. And it certainly changed my own life. Changing a light bulb is now impossible. Opening milk cartons without the dreaded machine is also very, very difficult. And if you drink Bacardi like I do, then Coke bottles can also be very difficult. Those blessed bags in Morrison's are also very, very hard when you're trying to get some tangerines. And last Thursday, I put my Visa debit card into the Lloyd's cash machine, and it actually kept my card. It cheekily let it come out again, and then it took it back. And I was in a kind of, the word I use is not repeatable, as I put my trolley back into the trolley park. I lost my card 3 times in the Deutsche Bank in Costa del Sol in Spain, and I think my partner thought I was more interested in the German blonde who retrieved my card as soon as I went in on Friday morning. That was not true, by the way. The dust caps on tyre wheels, absolutely impossible. And I found myself in the embarrassing situation of saying to a bloke, "Hey, can you come and help me? I can't do this anymore." Opening petrol caps in Morrison's. And you know the bloke behind is gesticulating, and you're thinking, "Go away, it's not my, you're not my problem. It's my fingers that can't open the petrol cap." People who stare at you and mimic. In Spain, it's called no midas. And I used to go around these squares saying, "No midas, no midas." And they obviously knew what I was talking about. Lee Sports Village. It's not only the things that you do in life. I unfortunately watched Batley Bulldogs, a rugby league team in Yorkshire, and they were playing a semi-final at Lee Sports Village against Sheffield Eagles, probably in the year 2012. And we got into the ground. I'd asked the club, by the way, to give me a seat near the front. And they gave me row L towards the back. And I clambered up. It's like going up a mountainside, trying to get to my seat. And at half-time, my daughter said, "Let's go down to the front, Dad." And so there were these people on the end of the rows drinking beer and having the pork pies. And so my daughter at this side, and I went down, probably bashing people on the head just to keep in a kind of balanced form. And I apologized to everyone saying, sorry, I'm sorry I did that. And nobody complained because they realized there was a disability there. Falls. I think my worst fall was in Nerca in the Costa del Sol. And it was a person who reversed out of a dress shop. And I clipped this person's heel and went absolutely flying down the road. And my partner at the time, and people rushed up and they were trying to pick me up. And after a kind of 30 seconds, I carried on walking and fell again. And I've learned that if you ever fall, it's best just to sit there for about 2 or 3 minutes. It's like being hit in a rugby tackle. And I know from Durham School in 1968, what they did to me on The Blind Side. And you sit there, you get up, you recollect your feelings and your bearings, and then you proceed. But sometimes it can be very, very difficult. And then worse things happen in life. And that's when I noticed my neighbour was hobbling one day. And I said to him, what's wrong, Phil? And he said, I've got motor neurone disease. And the amount of love and support and friendship that that bloke gets is quite amazing. And then devastation. A family member dies, and you've got your CMT, and you've got to try and deal with the bereavement as well. It's still right. It's easy to feel all alone with CMT. And when I came to the national conference for the first time, I was sat outside having that terrible habit of having a cigarette. And I noticed that people were coming towards the hotel. And I was thinking, thank God there are some other people who actually walk like me. Since then, I've loved Mary Riley. Not literally, you know what I mean. I don't understand everything that she says, but the idea of research, the friendship that we have, the comradeship, the debates about CMT, the occasional drink are all wonderful and can be experienced at this conference. I remember a workshop session a few years ago. This lady from Liverpool, long black hair, looked a bit like Cher, and she recounted her stories. And her story was that she was an opera singer, and she had to stop that because as she went down the ramps, she became unbalanced. And I thought, well, that's brilliant. And then she said, I went on to become a dressmaker, a wedding dressmaker. And she had to stop that because she found it hard to thread the needles. And I thought, how wonderful. And then was then gone on to train as a nurse. And I think what she's achieved, and I think that's so important to us, the people with CMT. I had to think long and hard about my own achievements. Durham University, strange ways, no, that's not right. Sport, rugby, tennis, hockey, football. But cricket was my main sport. And my best bowling figures were 6 for 16 against Leeds Grammar School in about 1962. And I can still remember it so vividly. The number 11 batsman came walking out in his Leeds Grammar School cap, immaculate whites, and I bowled this. It wasn't a perfect ball. It didn't spin like a Shane Warne double. It spun about an inch, and the batsman played a perfect 4 defensive stroke. And I was up there appealing like mad, and our maths teacher gave it out. And that meant that the rest of the team had to give me a tanner, a sixpence in old money. And they were so delighted. My best batting, I smashed 78 against Liversidge. I don't know what year it was, but I remember it really well. And there was no helmets in those days, so that was another brilliant thing. So achievements in sport are so wonderful, and I have so many happy memories of teammates and what we got up to, not only during the games, but after games as well. I'm not retired. I still mark examination papers. You won't believe it. I sit at a desk for sometimes 7 or 8 hours a day. It's highly professional, it's long hours, the pay is terrible, but sometimes you have a glimmer when candidates write some very, very strange things. And I'll just share a few of those with you today. A 16-year-old girl should not kill. When a young couple have a baby, the girl will do her best for the baby. The boy will usually run off. A scapegoat is a goat trying to escape. There we are. And there were many references to Gandhi, but not only Mahatma Gandhi, but we had Randy Gandhi and Mandy Gandhi and all sorts of other Gandhis. After the hard work of summer, in winter, I'm going to apply to become a Greek guard. Have you seen Greek guards walking? No, not really, no, right. I think my other pet hates, I mentioned about mimicking and staring, are certainly the blue batch scheme and DVLA. My daughter decided when I was 70 to proclaim that I had this lousy disease of CMT. Well, it took DVLA about 4.5 months to sort my case out. And I think that they must think that you drive hand controls with your feet. I didn't tell them that during this time, I had to attend a speed awareness course after being caught doing 69 miles an hour in a 50 mile an hour area on the M1. My hero is Warwick Davis. I think he's lovely when he kind of talks about his disability and the way he overcomes it. So I think there are lessons to learn there. I'm not sure whether it's worse to be born with CMT or whether it's worse when you develop it in later life. I know I sit there with many memories of past sporting activities and the days we had out and so forth. And I think that it's probably a thing for debate. I think it's an interesting one, and I can't decide which is better. CMT is a lousy disease. We need to achieve things. We need to be positive. We need to be challenged, and we need to face those challenges and meet them head on. Do the things we can do and forget the things we can't. Thank you.